Ever feel like creating content for your business is taking over your life? Like you're always trying to figure out what to post, how to email your list, or what to say in your next course lesson. Well, that's where AI can step in if you know how to talk to it the right way. Today, I'm sharing the best ChatGPT prompts for coaches and course creators that will not only save you time, but also help you create content that actually connects with your audience. Oh, and if you ever wondered if AI can really capture your voice, stick around because I'll show you how to make it happen. You ready? Let's dive in. Here's the thing about ChatGPT. It's like having a super smart assistant who will do exactly what you ask, but only if you ask the right way. If your prompt is too vague, you'll end up with something generic that doesn't sound like you. But with a thoughtful prompt, suddenly you've got content that feels authentic and saves you hours of work. Think of AI or ChatGPT like a gourmet chef. If you say, "Make me food," you might get something edible, but if you say, "Make me a gluten-free vegan pizza with extra arugula," you're getting exactly what you want. Actually, that sounds pretty good. I may have to go fix some lunch right after this. That being said, for the best prompts, I like to follow a guideline called RGCAO. That stands for role, goal, context, action, and output. When you create your prompts with this guideline in mind, you'll get better, more tailored solutions that also helps you gain further understanding into your issue or question. And why? Because you have to take just a moment to think about it a little bit more so that you're prompting the AI tool in a way that it gives you the better results. So let's break this down just a little bit further. First, I'd like to start every prompt with providing ChatGPT with the role that it should play when providing the response. For example, if you're doing a social post, you want to tell ChatGPT to take on the role of a social media expert. If you are doing something along the lines of email, you might tell ChatGPT to take on the role of a copywriter. It just sets the tone and gives a little bit more framework for ChatGPT to understand what role it's needing to take on. Then you want to let ChatGPT understand what you want to accomplish. This is a big one that's often overlooked, and I have to remind myself of this one a lot. What is the overarching mission of the task or project that you are trying to complete? When you give ChatGPT this framework, it makes a huge difference in the types of responses you're getting, because this gives ChatGPT more insight, so the response will help move the needle in the direction that you want to go. For example, if you're writing a social media post, you may let ChatGPT know that the goal is to increase followers or the goal is to get traffic to your website. Context is likely the element you're already using if you've dabbled in ChatGPT at all. This is where you provide the key elements or information needed for ChatGPT to provide you with a tailored solution. But here's the thing, the better you get at adding good context to your prompt, the more valuable your response will be. More on that in a second. Next is action. Action is the command you give ChatGPT. It's important to be as specific as possible so you get what you're asking for. And finally, include your desired output. For example, do you want a list, a table, a script, or other specific format? Let ChatGPT know. This one little detail is technically a little more optional, but in most situations, I've found it beneficial to still include it. For example, when I use ChatGPT to help me with my course video scripts, I don't want the suggested script to include a bunch of bullet points. That doesn't flow well when you're following a teleprompter, for example. So I tell ChatGPT to provide the script format in a conversational tone that reads well on a teleprompter. All right, so I find the best way to understand the RGCAO prompt guidelines is to see it in action. So let's get into some specific examples of prompts that work like magic. Let me share my screen for just a second, and I'll show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. Now, as an extra added bonus, I do tend to write my scripts on a Word doc or Google Doc. simply because it gives me a separate place where I have my prompts. And a lot of times we're using the same prompts over and over again for repetitive tasks. So you can set up GPTs in order to use those repetitive tasks over and over again. And we'll have another video where we'll show you how to set up GPTs. But at the same time, it is kind of handy for me to have this reference point. So we have a Google Doc of some of the prompts that we use. This way, too, I can brainstorm on a Google Doc and then copy and paste the information over to ChatGPT when I'm ready to actually ask for that response from whatever AI I'm using, not just ChatGPT, just about any of them. Okay, so the first one example that I'm using here is a prompt for social media posts. So you'll notice here that this is one of the examples that I've put together for you. So we say, first of all, act as a social media expert specializing in Instagram growth. So you'll notice that this is the role that we're telling ChatGPT to take on. Then we follow that with our goal. So the goal of our Instagram channel is to grow our subscribers to 5,000 in the next 12 months while connecting more with our audience and engaging traffic to our website. This, like I said, is an often overlooked piece, but by giving this little bit of extra context, it allows ChatGPT to have a better framework and work from a direction of what is it that you're wanting it to help you accomplish. Then we move on to context. So this is telling it then what we want to have ChatGPT, but giving it context. So we're saying write an engaging Instagram post about the benefits of raw diet for dogs. I just did that as an example. The tone should be friendly, conversational, and inspiring. Include a call to action that encourages engagement. So this is kind of a combination of context and action all together. And then, of course, we're saying in our output, we want it to provide 3 versions in order of likelihood of engagement with suggestions for accompanying graphics. So you'll notice, though, that this goes into a lot more detail than if you were going to just say, write an engaging Instagram post about the benefits of raw feeding for dogs. So sometimes if you're just getting started with AI, it may be tempting to start with something like this. So let me show you a example of the difference. So if we jump on over to ChatGPT, if all I do is write an engaging Instagram post about the benefits of raw diet for dogs, and this is what I tell ChatGPT, then this is what it's going to give us. And it does a pretty good job in and of itself because it already knows that we want an engaging Instagram post. But if you see, this is what it says. Are you thinking of switching your pup to a raw diet? We've got some nice emojis in here because we're talking about Instagram. So it does a pretty good job. But if we go back to our full context and we give it the full RGCAO guideline, now if I go in here and paste this in here, and then I give it the response, we get a much more detailed and a lot more specific information in this post. So instead of it saying, are you thinking, shining your clear, let's talk about why you may want to make the switch. And it talks about better dental health, strong immune system, increased energy. And it just goes into detail here. So this goes, you'll notice, is much more detailed. It gives a better tagline. And then we also said give it 3 versions in order of likelihood of engagement. And it tells us what our graphic selection is. So this gives us a lot more information that is so much more detailed than if we had simply said up here that we just want an Instagram post on whatever topic. Now, this could get even better if we were to go into a little bit more context where we tell a little bit more, where the system knows about, say, your recipes, your approach. If you have a pillars type of program that is much more refined and you have a lot more context to give it, that will give the system even more details, which will do an even better job when it's giving us that information and putting that out there. So Here's another example, a prompt for email sequences. So you'll notice here that we start off by saying what our goal is. I want to increase our click-through rate to 30% and get more opt-ins for our launch, webinar, lead magnet, whatever it is that you want to put in here. So now we're giving context. So we're saying what our goal is, then we give context. I'm currently at 17% click-through rate. So we're letting the system know that we're at 17% now and we want to get to 30%. Then you can say, here's an email that is getting 17% click-through rate. So you can actually then insert or add the attachment in ChatGPT. So if you notice in here, you can actually add an attachment or a hyperlink where it gives a lot more context and information there. So you could give a lot more detail here on the context of what's getting 17% so that it knows that we're going from this to a goal of 30%. And then we tell it that we want it to write a 3-part email sequence promoting our event or launch or webinar or lead magnet or whatever it is that you put in there. The tone should be supportive and encouraging with a clear invitation in each email, including engaging subject line with preview text. You can include emojis, GIFs, or other elements that encourage click rate. So that would be another example of a prompt that we could throw in there. But you notice that it includes the majority of our RGCAO. This one, we didn't include R for the role, but you could include that. Role and output, I would say those are a little bit more optional depending on the prompt elements or what it is that you're doing. But the G, C, and A are the most important pieces. And when in doubt, when you're first getting started, just be on the habit of including RGCAO. Our next example would be for creating our course lesson. So if you're still creating your course, you could actually have ChatGPT help you with creating some of your lessons and saving a ton of time. So you could say, as part of our full course curriculum on and explain your course. So this is where we are talking more specifically, we're telling it from a role perspective or a context perspective, is that this is part of a course. We're creating a series of lessons with the goal of helping our target audience to achieve target transformation. So this is where you insert then, here is the whole purpose and goal of your program and giving more context. We're kind of combining the goal and the context in this one. And then our action is saying, create a detailed outline for a course lesson on, and then whatever topic that you are covering in that particular lesson. Include 3 to 5 main points, key takeaways for each point, and an actionable step at the end. Now, you can adjust this based on what you need for your course, but this is, again, it's something where you could put this in here. Now, a great bonus tip on this, one of the mistakes that I made when I was first getting started with AI prompting is I would say, give me the lesson, give me the video script, and then give me the worksheet that goes with it all in one. But here's the thing, you're asking ChatGPT to give you 3 primary actions all in one prompt. And it's what happens when you do that is you're pulling some of the resources, so to speak, the AI brain on trying to divide out its tasks. And if you do one at a time and then give it a follow-up prompt for the second task, that will give you much better results. So in a case like this, you might want to start off with writing the lesson. Then once it's given you that lesson and you like it and approve it, you can always then say, great, love it. Now give me the video lesson script that goes with this lesson. If you don't like it, just let ChatGPT know so that it can make some modifications based on what more additional context that you give it and other information, because it's giving you data based on your prompt. And if you're not liking what ChatGPT is giving you, most likely you're not giving it quite a detailed enough prompt to go deep enough to really give you the information that you're looking for. So that would be my big tip on this one, is give it one action item at a time, get that one completely approved, then move on to the next one as a follow-up prompt. All right, the last example I have here would be a blog post or video script. So this is then where we say act as an expert blog writer, specializing in moving readers forward in the client journey. Because remember, the whole purpose and goal of a blog is SEO and to be able to invite new people who maybe find you through your blog to step onto your journey and take more action with you. Maybe that's a lead magnet, maybe that's scheduling a call with you, maybe that is attending a webinar or purchasing a program. But we always want to have some kind of next step in the journey. So we just want to let ChatGPT know that you are acting as an expert blog creator and you're specializing in moving people forward in that journey. The goal of our blog is to attract new audience and get them to enroll in our XYZ lead magnet, whichever is your primary next step in the journey. Then you'll say, create a blog post about whatever your topic is, include and this is where you can go deeper into context if you have more information to give in this point. Include an introduction that captures their attention and gets them to want to read more. 3 main points that offer high value yet leave them open to new questions, and a conclusion with a cliffhanger to take further action by opting in for our lead magnet or next step in the journey. So you can see how including a role, our goal on what it is that we want to have this result that ChatGPT is giving us, what do we want it to do? It gives it context. We're giving it information behind that. It knows more about who we are, what we're trying to do for them or for our audience or in this particular action. And then specifically what action you want to take and what output format that you want that. Now, if you want to get even better results from your AI prompts, here are a few even more bonus pro tips. The first one, as I said before, but I'm laying it out there again, is to be ultra specific. The more details you provide, the better. If you want a lighthearted tone, say that. If you want the response to be under 100 words, include that too. If you want it to be in a 5th grade reading level, then you can definitely let it know that as well. Number 2, tell ChatGPT to ask you questions. This is the most powerful tip I can give you. And when I started doing this with my prompts, it totally revolutionized the response that I was getting. So when we're talking about the context that you are putting in for ChatGPT to understand, you can actually tell ChatGPT to ask you a series of questions, maybe 5 questions, 10 questions, whatever number that you want to include that will offer more context for the prompt. So you can tell ChatGPT to ask you what questions that it has to give you the best option based on the role, the goal, the action, and some context. And then you simply tell it, ask me more questions to give me the best possible outcome. So that's a really powerful one. Try it for yourself and then put in the comments what a difference that makes for you. I would love to hear more about how that tip made a difference for you with your outcomes from your prompts. Okay, number 3 is to inject your style. So add something like, make it sound like me, my voice, friendly, supportive, a little humorous. You'd be surprised how well AI can pick up on that. Because even when we are giving prompts, it's looking at the way that we give those prompts to better understand us and our voice. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he was talking about how he did the Myers-Briggs assessment, and then he asked ChatGPT to guess what his Myers-Briggs results were, and interestingly enough, it nailed it. And just by looking at the way that he would give prompts, interact with it on a regular basis. Number 4 is to iterate and improve. So as I mentioned before, you can ask it the prompt and then continue to give feedback and go back and forth as often as necessary or as much as necessary until you get it exactly what you want. So if the first result isn't perfect, just let ChatGPT know. You can say things like, make it more concise, use simpler language, or whatever else feedback that you may feel like you need, and then AI will refine it. Now, these little tweaks can make a huge difference in the final output. and of course, your future responses. So here's the big takeaway. Using ChatGPT with the right prompts isn't just about saving time. It's about freeing up your creative energy. Instead of spending hours drafting emails or brainstorming social posts, you can focus on what you do best, which is serving your clients and growing your business. Now, AI won't replace your unique voice. It's a tool to help you show up more consistently without the overwhelm. And when you use it, it becomes your secret weapon for scaling your business with less effort. So now you know some of the best AI prompts for coaches and course creators. Give these a try, tweak them for your style, and see how much easier content creation can become. And if you want personalized help with growing your online business, head to my website, striveforsavvy.com, or click the link in the description to book a free call with me. Over the past 15 years in this industry, I've helped over 100 online business owners improve their processes and increase their sales. I'd love to chat and see how we can streamline your strategy. And if you want to learn more about AI and how you can use it to grow your online business, check out this video next where I compare ChatGPT to one of the hottest new AI tools on the market, Sintra AI. I'll see you there.